The Arcanian warship cast an imposing shadow over Earth's orbital defense station Alpha, its crystalline hull refracting sunlight in prismatic patterns across the station's viewing windows. Dr. Elena Chen stood motionless, her dark eyes fixed on the display showing the massive vessel. Behind her, the station's command center hummed with carefully controlled tension as operators monitored their stations with practiced precision. "They're hailing us again," Lieutenant Sarah Martinez announced from her communications console, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Same message as before." Elena nodded, her shoulder-length black hair shifting slightly in the station's artificial gravity. "Put it through." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing High Commander Vexthor of the Arcanian Empire. His silver-scaled face showed the characteristic smugness of his species, 4 purple eyes arranged in a diamond pattern blinking in sequence, a sign of barely contained amusement. "Dr. Chen," he purred, "have you reconsidered our generous offer?" The Arcanian Empire grows impatient with Earth's stubborn independence. Elena maintained her composure, though her fingers tightened imperceptibly around the datapad she held. "High Commander, Earth's position remains unchanged. We are a sovereign world, and we decline to join your empire as a protectorate." A sovereign world. Vexthor's laugh was like glass scraping against metal. "Your species barely managed interplanetary travel a century ago. Your defensive capabilities are primitive at best. The Empire's patience with your quaint assertion of independence has limits." Elena allowed herself a small smile. "Perhaps, but we believe we have the right to determine our own path." "Your determination is admirable, if foolish." Vexthor leaned forward, his massive form filling more of the display. "I will make this simple. Earth has 24 of your hours to submit to Imperial protection, or we will demonstrate why the Arcanian Empire has stood unchallenged for 10,000 years." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the command center in momentary silence. Lieutenant Martinez turned in her chair. "Ma'am, should we alert the Security Council?" Elena's smile hadn't wavered. "No need, Lieutenant. Everything is proceeding exactly as expected." She tapped her datapad, bringing up a secure channel to Earth's Quantum Defense Initiative headquarters buried deep beneath the Himalayas. "Director Walsh, they've made their move." "Understood," came the reply, the voice of humanity's defense chief clear and confident. "Operation Silent Shield is a go. You have full authorization." Elena turned to address the command center staff. "Ladies and gentlemen, you've all been briefed for this moment. For the past 50 years, while the galaxy thought Earth was struggling with basic spaceflight, we've been preparing. The Arcanians see what they expect to see, a primitive world ripe for conquest. They don't know about the quantum shield network. They don't know about the phase-shifted defense grid. They don't know that every piece of primitive technology they've observed has been carefully crafted theater." She moved to the central command console, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "Begin power-up sequence for the QSN. Initiate Phantom Protocol Sierra 7. And someone get me a coffee. It's going to be a long night." As her orders were carried out, Elena thought back to the day, 15 years ago, when humanity had first detected the Arcanian probe at the edge of the solar system. Instead of shooting it down or revealing their true capabilities, Earth's leaders had made a daring decision: to appear weak, to seem primitive, to let the galaxy's powers think humanity was defenseless. The probe had observed exactly what they wanted it to observe: outdated spacecraft, basic weapon systems, and minimal defensive capabilities. What it hadn't seen was the quantum technology that Earth had developed in absolute secrecy, the defensive systems that existed out of phase with normal spacetime, the true extent of human advancement. Alerts began flashing across the command screens as more Arcanian warships emerged from hyperspace, their massive forms appearing like predatory fish in the vast ocean of space. The Empire was making a show of force, positioning their fleet for what they assumed would be a quick subjugation of another primitive world. 97 vessels detected, Martins reported. Multiple capital ships, including what appears to be the Imperial flagship. Elena nodded, watching as the enemy fleet moved into attack formation. Let them come. Maintain current posture. No defensive measures visible. Ma'am. A young operator called out. We're detecting power surges from their weapons systems. They're not waiting for their deadline. Of course they're not. Elena replied calmly. The ultimatum was just theater, just like our supposed weakness has been theater. She opened a channel to all Earth defense stations. All stations, this is Director Chen. Operation Silent Shield is now active. Maintain emissions control. Let them think we're helpless right up until the moment we prove we're not. The first Arcanian shots were fired 3 hours later, a barrage of plasma torpedoes designed to destroy Earth's orbital defense stations. The weapons passed straight through the stations, their energy dispersing harmlessly into space. How? Vex Thor's voice came through on an open channel, confusion evident in his tone. Our scans showed no shield technology. Helena opened the channel. High Commander, allow me to explain something about humanity. We learned long ago that appearing strong can be a weakness, but appearing weak, that can be a strength. You saw exactly what we wanted you to see. Welcome to the real Earth. She pressed her palm against the quantum interface, and around the planet, humanity's true defensive capabilities began to emerge from their quantum shadows. The game of appearance was over. Now it was time to show the galaxy humanity's real face. The Arcanian fleet was about to learn why challenging Earth had been their greatest mistake. The Arcanian fleet hung in Earth's orbit like a constellation of predatory stars, their crystalline hulls reflecting the first rays of dawn breaking over the planet's curved horizon. Inside the Alpha Station's command center, Dr. Elena Chen watched as confusion rippled through the enemy formation. Their initial salvos, meant to cripple Earth's defensive infrastructure, had accomplished nothing. Quantum shield integrity at 100%, Lieutenant Martinez reported, a hint of pride in her voice. The Arcanians' weapons passed through our phase-shifted defenses without making contact. They literally can't touch us. Elena nodded, her attention focused on the tactical display where the enemy fleet's formation was starting to shift. They're adapting faster than expected. Vex Thor isn't a fool. He knows he's been deceived, and he'll try something new. As if on cue, the High Commander's transmission cut through their communications. Impressive deception, Dr. Chen. But parlor tricks won't save you. The Empire has conquered worlds far more advanced than Earth. You're still not understanding the situation, Commander, Elena replied, her fingers moving across her console as she initiated the next phase of their defense. This isn't about saving ourselves. This is about teaching the galaxy a lesson about underestimating humanity. Around Earth, invisible quantum matrices that had laid dormant for decades began to activate. The technology was the product of 50 years of secret development, based on principles that humanity had discovered but kept hidden from galactic civilization. While other species focused on weapons that could destroy planets, humanity had developed defenses that could render such weapons useless. Multiple energy signatures detected from the Arcanian fleet, an operator announced. They're charging their primary weapons, gravimetric disruptors. Elena's expression remained calm. Just as expected, they're escalating to planet-killer weapons. Initiate Protocol Omega. The gravimetric disruptors fired, their beams designed to tear apart the very fabric of a planet's gravitational field. But as the weapons fire approached Earth's atmosphere, something unprecedented happened. The beams curved, twisted, and then simply ceased to exist. By the eternal stars. Vex Thor's voice held a note of genuine fear now. What did you do? We didn't just develop shields, Commander, Elena explained, allowing herself a small smile. We developed ways to remove energy from existence itself. Your weapons aren't being blocked. They're being erased from reality. The Arcanian fleet's formation broke as ships began to maneuver frantically, their sensors detecting something they couldn't quite understand. Earth's quantum defense grid wasn't just a shield. It was a web of altered space-time, capable of manipulating the fundamental forces of the universe. Director Chen, Martinez called out, "We're detecting power surges across their fleet. They're preparing a synchronized attack." "Let them try," Elena responded. She opened a channel to all Earth defense stations. "All stations, prepare for full-spectrum response. Show them what humanity has been hiding all these years." The Arcanian attack came like a storm of light and energy, hundreds of weapons firing simultaneously. But Earth's defenses responded with elegant precision. Quantum fields shifted and pulsed, creating zones where physical laws themselves were temporarily rewritten. Weapon beams bent back on themselves, torpedoes vanished into pocket dimensions, and massive energy discharges were absorbed and redirected into Earth's power grid. Impossible. Vexthor's transmission was filled with static now, his ship's systems struggling against forces they were never designed to counter. No species could develop this level of technology in secret. "That's where you're wrong," Elena replied. "We did it precisely because it was secret. While you watched our primitive rockets and laughed at our apparent weakness, we were free to pursue avenues of research that your empire never imagined. We didn't develop better weapons. We developed ways to make weapons irrelevant." The quantum defense grid continued its work, each attack from the Arcanian fleet being neutralized with increasing efficiency. The AI systems controlling the grid were learning, adapting, becoming more effective with each passing moment. "Ma'am," Martins reported, "we're detecting communications between the Arcanian ships. They're arguing about whether to retreat." Elena watched as the mighty Arcanian fleet, pride of an empire that had stood for 10 millennia, began to show the first signs of breaking. Ships at the edges of their formation were already turning, their crews realizing that they faced something beyond their understanding. "Send a message to all Arcanian vessels," Elena commanded. "Tell them that Earth is offering them one chance to withdraw. Tell them that the next phase of our defense system won't just negate their weapons. It will send their ships into a quantum state that even we can't predict." The threat was a bluff. The quantum displacement technology was still theoretical, but the Arcanians had no way of knowing that. They had already seen the impossible. The threat of something worse was all too believable. As the message was transmitted, Elena thought about the decades of preparation that had led to this moment. The countless scientists and engineers who had worked in secret, the resources hidden from galactic observation, the careful manipulation of humanity's image. It had all been for this day. The Arcanian fleet's formation continued to deteriorate as more ships broke ranks. Even their mighty empire had never encountered defenses that operated on such fundamental levels. They had expected to find a primitive world ripe for conquest. Instead, they had found humanity's hidden hand, and it held power beyond their comprehension. Chaos erupted aboard the Arcanian flagship as tactical officers scrambled to make sense of the impossible data flooding their sensors. Through the command deck's crystalline viewport, High Commander Vexthor watched helplessly as another wave of his fleet's most powerful weapons dissipated harmlessly against Earth's quantum defense grid. The humans hadn't fired a single shot, yet his mighty armada was being systematically rendered impotent. High Commander, his second-in-command, Sub-Commander Ixel, approached with visible trepidation. "We're receiving reports from the outer sectors. 3 more colony worlds have declared independence from the Empire. They're citing Earth's defense technology as proof that our military supremacy can be challenged." Vexthor's 4 eyes narrowed in sequence. "Impossible. Those worlds have been under our control for millennia. They wouldn't dare." "Sir," a communications officer interrupted, "incoming transmission from the Imperial Palace." The holographic display materialized, revealing the aged face of Emperor Caxtil himself. The ancient ruler's expression was a mask of barely contained fury. "Vexthor, explain to me why reports of our fleet's humiliation are spreading across the galaxy." Before Vexthor could respond, another voice joined the transmission. "Because your empire's foundation of fear is crumbling." Dr. Elena Chen's hologram appeared alongside the Emperor's, her calm demeanor a stark contrast to the Arcanian leader's rage. "You dare interrupt an imperial communication?" the Emperor snarled. "We dare much more than that," Alina replied. "Your fleet's failure isn't just being broadcast across the galaxy, it's being analyzed. Every world under your control is watching as humanity's defensive technology renders your weapons useless. They're realizing that the Empire's military supremacy was a paper tiger." In Earth's orbital command center, Alina gestured to Lieutenant Martinez, who activated a series of data streams. Across the galaxy, encrypted quantum communications channels that humanity had secretly established over decades came to life. Information about Earth's defensive technology, carefully selected and edited, began flowing to every world under Arcanian control. "What are you doing?" Vexthor demanded, his voice trembling with a mixture of rage and fear. "We're giving your subjugated worlds a choice," Alina explained. "The quantum defense technology we've developed. We're offering it to any world that declares independence from the Empire. Not the full version, of course, but enough to protect themselves from your fleet." The Emperor's hologram flickered as he leaned forward. "You destabilize the peace we've maintained for 10,000 years. Peace." Alina's voice carried a sharp edge for the first time. "You mean subjugation. We've studied your empire's history, Your Majesty. You maintain control through fear of your military might. What happens to that control when worlds realize they can defend themselves?" As if to emphasize her point, alerts began flooding the Arcanian command networks. 5 more colony worlds had declared independence, then 10 more. The cascade of defiance was spreading faster than anyone had anticipated. "Director Chen," Martinez called out, "we're detecting power surges in the Arcanian fleet. They're preparing for another attack." Alina nodded. "Let them try. Activate the quantum resonance field." As the Arcanian ships launched their assault, something new happened. Instead of their weapons simply disappearing, they began to reflect back, creating a spectacular display of light and energy that illuminated Earth's orbit like an aurora. The fleet's own attacks were being turned against them, forcing their shields to their limits. "Stop this madness," Vexthor shouted. "You'll destroy everything we've built." "No," Alina corrected him. "We're giving the galaxy a chance to rebuild. Your empire's time is ending, but it doesn't have to end in destruction. You can choose to adapt, to become part of a new galactic order based on cooperation rather than dominance." On the tactical displays, more Arcanian ships were breaking formation, some turning to flee, others powering down their weapons in surrender. The mighty fleet that had arrived to conquer Earth was now in full retreat. "The Empire will never surrender," the Emperor declared, but his voice lacked conviction. "You already have," Alina replied softly. "Look around you. Your fleet is in shambles. Your colonies are declaring independence, and humanity hasn't fired a single shot. We've demonstrated something far more powerful than military might. We've shown that your power can be negated, and in doing so, we've given hope to every world under your control." The quantum defense grid continued its silent work, a testament to humanity's different approach to power. While the Arcanians had built their empire on the ability to destroy, humanity had focused on the ability to protect. It was a fundamental difference in philosophy that was now reshaping the galaxy. In the command center, Alina watched as more reports of independence declarations flooded in. The cascade effect was accelerating, spreading from world to world like a virus of hope. The Arcanian Empire, which had stood unchanging for 10 millennia, was transforming before their eyes. "Director," Martins reported, "we're receiving requests for technological assistance from 17 former Arcanian colonies. They're asking for help implementing the defensive systems." Alina smiled. This had always been part of the plan, not just defending Earth, but changing the balance of power throughout the galaxy. "Begin transmission of the basic defense protocols. Make sure they understand this is just the beginning of a new era of cooperation." The stars seemed to shine brighter as the Arcanian fleet retreated, their crystalline ships no longer casting shadows over Earth. Humanity had won not through superior firepower, but through superior foresight. They had spent 50 years preparing not just for their own defense, but for the liberation of an entire galaxy. The quantum defense grid rippled with invisible energy as the last Arcanian ships limped away from Earth's orbit. In the Alpha Station's command center, Dr. Elena Chen accessed a secured quantum channel, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. The message she received confirmed what she had suspected. The revolution had spread beyond anyone's expectations. Director, Lieutenant Martinez's voice carried a note of awe. The latest reports show that over 60% of Arcanian colonies have declared independence. The Empire's response fleets are being met with the defensive technology we provided. They can't maintain control. Elena nodded, her mind drifting to a memory from 30 years ago. A secret laboratory beneath the Himalayan mountains where she had first discovered the quantum resonance effect. She had been young then, fresh out of university, working on what seemed like an impossible theory. No one had believed that space-time itself could be manipulated on such a fundamental level. "Ma'am," another operator called out, "we're detecting a priority transmission from the Galactic Council. They're requesting an emergency session." A thin smile crossed Elena's face. "And so the final phase begins. Put them through." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing the 9 members of the Galactic Council, representatives of the oldest and most powerful civilizations in known space. Their expressions ranged from concern to outright fear. The Arcanian representative was notably absent. Earth representative, the Centaurian counselor, spoke first, his crystalline form shimming with nervous energy. "We demand an explanation for your actions. The stability of the galaxy was an illusion," Elena interrupted quietly. "An illusion maintained by Arcanian military supremacy and your council's willingness to look the other way. But that's not why you're really calling, is it?" The Proximan counselor leaned forward, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing rapidly. "Our sensors have detected quantum anomalies spreading throughout the galaxy. The technology you've distributed, it's changing the fundamental nature of space-time itself." "Yes," Elena confirmed. "That was always the plan. Would you like to know why?" Without waiting for a response, she activated a secure data stream. The council members' expressions changed as they received information that humanity had kept hidden for decades. Data about quantum rifts appearing throughout the galaxy, about the fabric of space-time slowly becoming unstable, about a threat that none of them had noticed. "Impossible," the Syrian counselor whispered. "These readings, they suggest that the galaxy is dying." Elena finished for him. "Has been dying for millennia. The Arcanian Empire's unrestricted use of gravimetric weapons, their planet-killer technology, their destructive expansion. It all contributed to a cascading breakdown in the quantum structure of our galaxy. We discovered this 50 years ago, when we first developed our quantum sensing technology." The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Elena continued, her voice steady. "The defensive technology we've distributed isn't just about protection from the Arcanians. Each quantum shield creates a stable pocket of space-time, an anchor point that helps prevent further deterioration. By spreading this technology throughout the galaxy, we're creating a network of quantum stabilization points." "You're trying to save the galaxy," the Proximan counselor realized. "But why the secrecy? Why not bring this to the council?" Elena's laugh was soft but bitter. "Would you have believed us? Would you have acted against the Arcanians? Or would you have dismissed us as a primitive species meddling in affairs beyond our understanding?" The data continued to flow, showing projections of galaxy-wide quantum stability increasing as more worlds activated their defensive systems. What looked like a revolution against the Arcanian Empire was actually a carefully orchestrated plan to save the galaxy itself. "There's more," Elena added. "The quantum shield technology has another effect. It's not just stabilizing space-time, it's beginning to heal the damage. Each shield generator acts as a quantum regeneration point. In time, the galaxy's natural quantum field will be restored. The council members exchanged looks of shock and disbelief. Humanity hadn't just developed a defensive technology. They had created a way to repair the fundamental fabric of reality itself. Director Chen, Martinez interrupted. We're receiving reports from the outer colonies. The quantum regeneration effect. It's working faster than our models predicted. We're detecting spontaneous stability in regions that haven't even received the technology yet. Elena nodded. The effect is self-propagating. Once enough stabilization points were established, the galaxy's natural quantum field began to reassert itself. We didn't just give the conquered worlds the means to defend themselves. We gave the galaxy the tools to heal itself. The Centaurian counselor's voice was barely a whisper. All this time, we thought we were the guardians of galactic civilization, but we were blind to its slow death. And a species we dismissed as primitive saw what we could not. That's the thing about appearing primitive, Elena replied. No one expects you to understand quantum mechanics on a universal scale. No one expects you to develop technology that can save reality itself. No one watches you too closely or questions why you're building quantum sensors instead of warships. The implications of humanity's true accomplishment began to dawn on the Council. This wasn't just a shift in political power. It was the beginning of a fundamental change in how the galaxy itself functioned. The age of destructive weapons and planet-killer technology was ending, not through force or law, but through the simple fact that such weapons would soon be impossible to use in stabilized spacetime. Humanity hadn't just changed the balance of power, they had changed the very nature of power itself. And they had done it all while the galaxy watched and laughed at their apparent primitive state. 1 month after Earth's revelation to the galaxy, the view from Alpha Station had changed dramatically. Where once the Arcanian fleet had threatened Earth's safety, now ships from dozens of worlds moved peacefully through the quantum-stabilized space. Dr. Elena Chen stood at her familiar spot by the command center's viewport, watching as another delegation arrived for the Galactic Reformation Summit. The Proximan representatives have docked, Lieutenant Martinez reported. That makes 47 former Arcanian colonies represented at the summit, along with 15 independent worlds. Elena nodded, her attention drawn to the streams of data flowing across her quantum interface. The galaxy-wide network of stabilization points was exceeding all expectations, the natural quantum field regenerating at rates that even humanity's most optimistic models hadn't predicted. Director, a young analyst called out, we're detecting something unusual in the Carina sector. The quantum regeneration. It's creating new phenomena. The main display shifted to show a region of space that had once been ravaged by Arcanian weapon tests. Where there had been only void, new patterns of energy were forming. Spacetime wasn't just healing, it was evolving. Just as the theoretical model suggested, Elena murmured. When you remove the destructive forces that have been damaging reality for millennia, spacetime doesn't just return to its original state. It finds new forms of stability. The command center's doors slid open, admitting an unexpected visitor. Former Emperor Caxtil, now simply Representative Caxtil of the Arcanian homeworld, entered with none of his former imperial grandeur. The events of the past month had aged him visibly. Dr. Chen, he said, his voice carrying the hint of his old authority, I've come to offer what my pride should have allowed me to offer weeks ago. An apology and my gratitude. Elena turned to face him, raising an eyebrow. Gratitude. For stopping us before we destroyed everything, Caxtil replied. Our weapons, our wars, our endless drive for dominance. We were literally tearing the galaxy apart without realizing it. Your intervention saved not just the conquered worlds, but the conquerors as well. Before Elena could respond, new alerts flashed across the command screens. In regions where the quantum regeneration had progressed the furthest, something unprecedented was occurring. New forms of energy were manifesting, creating phenomena that defied conventional physics. The gateway signatures are stabilizing, Martinez announced, excitement creeping into her professional tone. The quantum corridors are forming exactly as the theoretical models predicted. Elena allowed herself a small smile. And that Representative Caxtil is the real gift humanity has been working toward. We didn't just develop technology to defend ourselves or to heal the galaxy. We created the conditions for the next stage of galactic evolution. The main display showed it clearly now. Where the quantum field had fully regenerated, natural wormholes were beginning to form. Not the unstable, dangerous tiers in spacetime that aggressive weapons had created, but stable corridors that connected distant parts of the galaxy through healthy spacetime. The age of ships forcing their way through space is ending, Elena explained. As the galaxy heals, it's creating its own transportation network, natural quantum corridors that will allow safe, instant travel between star systems. The very damage we repaired is showing us a better way forward. Across the command center, reports continued to flood in. More former Arcanian colonies were reporting successful implementation of the quantum shield technology. But more importantly, they were reporting changes in their local space. The galaxy wasn't just healing, it was transforming. I understand now, Caxtil said softly, why your people chose to appear weak for so long. You weren't building weapons or defenses. You were midwives, preparing for the birth of something new. Elena nodded. Humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to see beyond the immediate. We knew that saving the galaxy wasn't just about stopping the Arcanian Empire. It was about creating the conditions for a fundamental change in how civilization itself functions. The quantum corridors continued to form, creating a natural network that would soon connect the galaxy in ways that no one had imagined possible. The age of military supremacy was ending, replaced by an era where cooperation wasn't just moral, but necessary for survival. Director, Martin is called out. We're receiving a priority message from the Galactic Council. They're proposing to dissolve themselves. They want to establish a new governing body, one that includes representatives from all worlds, with Earth taking a leading role in guiding the galaxy's quantum transformation. Elena's expression remained calm, but her eyes sparkled. Tell them we accept, but with one condition. The new government must be based on the principle of quantum harmony. Every decision must consider its effect on the galaxy's quantum stability. We've seen what happens when civilizations ignore the fundamental forces that bind reality together. As the command center buzzed with activity, Elena turned back to the viewport. The stars seemed brighter somehow, as if the very act of healing spacetime had made them shine with renewed vigor. Humanity had hidden its true nature for decades, appearing weak while preparing for this moment. They had endured the galaxy's contempt, worked in secret, and waited for the perfect moment to reveal not just their strength, but their wisdom. The age of empires was over. The age of quantum harmony had begun, and humanity, the species that everyone had underestimated, would lead the way into this new dawn, not through force or fear, but through understanding the deepest nature of reality itself. In the end, the greatest power wasn't the ability to destroy worlds or subjugate species. It was the power to see beyond the present, to work in secret toward a greater good, and to understand that true strength lies not in domination, but in healing what others had broken. Humanity had proved that the path to greatness didn't require mighty fleets or planet-killer weapons. Sometimes it simply required the patience to appear weak while growing wise.